Okay, people, if I have done everything right, I am live to the world right now. It's going to take a while for some people to get on here. But let's talk about the breaking news that the Washington Post just reported that President Trump may have reportedly, allegedly, said something during the recent meeting with the Russian representatives that may have given away some intelligence sources or secrets or something like that. Now, here's what you need to know. Anytime you see President Trump's biggest enemies in the media, let's say Washington Post or the CNN, and the nature of the story is that something happened that can't be verified, that somebody said something behind a closed door, and the only people who are in the meeting can't be trusted to tell you the truth because they're either on President Trump's side or, in this case, they're the Russians. It's sort of the it's sort of the perfect situation for fake news. Now, I'm going to say, statistically speaking, you can't always know that fake news is fake news, so I could be wrong. But here's the weird setup, and let me know how you feel about this. How often do you have a situation where the news that had been the big problem, the Russian collusion, was sort of petering out, and the Comey firing was sort of petering out because, and here's my little management advice for you about the Comey thing. If there's somebody that needs to get fired and everyone agrees, both sides agree that this person needs to be fired, there's no real wrong time to do that. There's no wrong way to do that. So if you have a bias for action, you just get rid of them and you worry about it later, which is sort of what happened. But anyway, those stories are kind of petering out. They just didn't have enough meat to them in the end. So it was time for the opposition to come up with a new story. And you want to tie it to some Russian stuff if you can. And you want to make it impossible to refute. All right. So very much like, did the Trump campaign collude with the Russians? Well, you can say you don't have evidence, but you can't really prove a negative. You can't prove something didn't happen. All right. So we have another perfect situation because, yeah, they went back to the Russia well, and it fits everybody's confirmation bias. They go, Trump, Russia, I'm automatically triggered. I don't even know what the details are. But the best part is that it can't be validated. Now, the only way you could validate it, and this is kind of interesting, is that probably it was recorded. It might have been a secret recording, but you have to think that stuff that happens in the White House is being recorded. And especially it's being recorded if the meeting is with the president and top Russians. You know that one was recorded. Probably the Russians recorded it themselves. We don't know how they did it, but probably. Probably England and Israel and France and a few other countries, they probably recorded it too. I mean, I don't know how good their counterintelligence is, but yeah, at least I'm sure they're trying to record what's happening in the White House. So, but there's at least one tape of what happened. And we have this controversy recently of Trump failing to deny that maybe things get taped in the White House, as they have in the past. So he can't really produce the tape because I'm sure it would have things on it that should not be revealed. So even if it's recorded, he can't prove that nothing bad happened. So the people who are in the room are not credible because they're either too much on Trump's side or it's the Russians. So you can't look at the tape. You can't trust the people. It's the perfect setup for fake news. It'll probably never die. It's really well done. From a perspective of persuasion, it's clever. I'm just looking at your I'm just looking at your comments coming in here to see if anybody has anything that they want to ask. Now, by the way, how do you like the fact that I can come on here and compete with CNN and Fox News? I'm live to the world. right now, and I'm talking about the same stuff they do. Now, you might say to yourself, well, yes, Scott, but you're not a news organization with deep research and, and sources and all that. And you know what? Neither is the news. They don't frickin' know anything. They don't know anything. Literally, the only thing that the news knows is what the Washington Post told them with sources that they won't reveal, and what is said publicly by the administration, which we all have access to. So I'm competing equal with CNN and Fox News right now. I have the same technology, or at least I could reach everybody who has a computer, and I'm live. Who benefits? Well, the opposition media, of course, benefits from a story that makes the president look bad. So it's the resistance, if you will. It's the onward together, folks. What's his next move to overcome this fake news narrative? Well, see, that's the beauty of it, is there's no counter move. There really isn't. So the only counter move to this allegation that Trump said something in the meeting with the Russians that might have revealed a secret, the only defense would be to produce a tape of the actual event, and that can't happen. All right, even if it exists, they're not going to make it available, or they shouldn't. So there's nothing he can do. He just has to change the topic. So I would say the odds of North Korea seeing some tomahawks arrive in the next hour and a half are higher than they've ever been. That's not a prediction. But the point is, there's no way to directly deal with this rumor because of its nature. It's so well crafted to have no credible counterexamples. But he can distract. And if he needs to, I don't think this particular thing is going to have much legs, but if he needs to, he's got lots of buttons to push to distract. Is Trump going to clean house? I don't believe any of the stories I hear about what somebody said behind closed doors, how somebody was out of control, how the president was beside himself. Any of these things you hear about his mental state, that's all fake news. All right, because first of all, people's mental states change. I mean, your mental state before lunch is different than your mental state after lunch. So if a president, whether it's President Trump or anybody else, it could have been Obama, if they have a moment when they just get really mad at somebody and yell at them, well, whoever's in that meeting is going to go out and say, that president's out of control, even if it was a 5-minute thing and they're fine after that. All right, so you can't believe any eyewitness reports, especially unsourced, about the mental state of the president. That's a ridiculous thing to believe. It doesn't matter who said it. It's just ridiculous that you would take that as credible in any way. Fire Spicer or Reintz, I never know how to pronounce his name right. It probably does help to send out like a military person to talk about the truth, because their credibility is going to be a lot higher. It's just sort of automatic. He has the authority to declassify information. Well, that doesn't mean it was a good idea. So, and there's a process for that, I'm sure. Why do they print this crap? Well, the media is doing pretty well financially, and a lot of it has to do with the pro-Trump and anti-Trump voices. Yes, I did talk about the Russian leak thing. All right. So this was a good test of the system to see if I can jump on while the news is still fresh, and that sort of worked. My technology wasn't as good as I hoped it would. But any other questions? It takes about a minute or so from the time I ask the question to the time I can actually see it appear on the delayed screen here. The crawl needs a background, does it? I played with that I played with a number of versions, and I probably will get a background eventually. I'm thinking of branding this Coffee with Scott Adams, CWSA, but that's 4 letters. I wouldn't answer questions about who I personally knew from, at least from the Trump world. How do I see them backing off? They probably will never back off the Russia stuff. It's just too good. It's too sweet. List of master persuaders. Yeah, I list a few of them in my upcoming book. The thing is, it's not a specific kind of it's not an objective diagnosis. It's sort of subjective. It's not a good font. You mean the one on my crawl? I only had that choice, one choice for that font, which is not good. What's the optimum number of topics on the crawl? I don't know. I'll be experimenting with this as we go. Yeah. Was Aldous Huxley a master persuader? Probably. I can't say I'm an expert on him. Have you noticed how Mike Cernovich went from troll to important media figure in just the last few months because his scoops keep turning out to be better than the mainstream media? So, I know Mike, so I'm just enjoying the heck out of watching his ride, just as an observer. He's 144p stream. What's that mean? Joe Rogan does Joe Rogan live. I could do Scott Adams live. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and Jack's getting pretty famous at the moment too. All right, that's all I got for now. I'm going to sign off. I got some other stuff to do. Thanks for coming on. I will be doing more of this, but I'm going to keep it short today. All right, see you guys later.